Hello again, I'm Bob Weir with another interview of People in the News in North Texas. My special guest today is Argyle resident Susan Piel, who is running for judge of Denton County Criminal Court Number 2. Thank you for being here, Susan.
Thank you for having me.
If you would please tell our viewers something about your background.
I grew up locally. I grew up in Carrollton. My parents have lived there pretty much most of my life. Graduated from Newman Smith High School, and then went to Baylor University, and then straight to law school at Texas Tech out in West Texas, and then came back here and started at the DA's office in 1996 under then DA Bruce Isaacs. I've been practicing criminal law for 22 years and spent the vast majority of that time at the DA's office. I was a felony prosecutor. I ended up, when Paul Johnson was elected, he promoted me to a department head. I ran the misdemeanor division there for 5 years.
And what types of offenses are handled by the County Criminal Court?
The County Criminal Court Number 2 is the one I'm running for. There's 5 county criminal courts, and they are the only courts in Denton County that are exclusively criminal jurisdiction. So there's no civil cases, it's all criminal. And a host of different kinds of offenses, misdemeanor offenses for the county criminal courts, DWIs, theft, assault, criminal trespass, criminal mischief.
And you spent several years as prosecutor in a number of capacities. You want to tell us about some of them?
Yes, I started out as a misdemeanor prosecutor, spent actually a fairly short time in the misdemeanor division. Then I was a chief of a court, and then moved on to felony prosecution, which is how I spent the majority of my time at the DA's office. I was a felony prosecutor, and then moved up to head the family violence unit. I was chief of the family violence unit for a number of years, prosecuting homicides, aggravated assaults, a variety of different kind of family violence felony offenses, and then ultimately ended up being the chief of the misdemeanor division. I supervised all the prosecutors in all 5 misdemeanor courts, the county criminal courts, including the one that I'm now running for. And so I supervised at that time, I think there were 17 lawyers that I supervised. It was about a third of the DA's office, and set the policy for how those cases were handled at the DA's office. And so my experience in criminal law runs the gamut from misdemeanor to felony.
Wow. I want to just mention, a few years ago you handled a controversial case involving a Denton cop whose wife was murdered, and you brought in a conviction that sent him to prison for 45 years. I was familiar with that case, and at the time I remember reading a lot about it, and I only bring that up to compliment you on your diligence in the way you handled that case. It was the grand jury did not, grand jury indicted, but the DA did not take it to trial.
Correct. I was not involved in the case in the initial stages. When the crime first happened, he was a Denton police officer, and his wife Vicki was a Denton school teacher. Bobby Lozano was his name, and he was indicted for her murder. She was found dead of a gunshot wound in her chest in their home, in her bed. And he was initially indicted for murder, but ultimately the case was dismissed. The cited reason on the dismissal was lack of evidence. The question was whether it was a homicide, whether it was a suicide, whether it was an accident. We took a new look at the case several years later, and I was fortunate to be asked to prosecute that case, to look at that case, and we went to trial several years ago with that case, and were able to get justice for Vicki. Very, very proud of the work we did in that case.
Yes, so am I. Paul Johnson handed that case to you?
Yes, I actually prosecuted that case with my husband. We were assigned the case separately, not because we were husband and wife, but the DA, Paul Johnson, had indicated that he thought that we would both bring something to that case, kind of individually. My husband has a background, he's very strong in forensics. I tend to be more of the storyteller between the two of us in the courtroom. And so I think our styles really complement each other well in the courtroom, and certainly did in that case.
Yes, the forensics was very significant in that case to bring in a conviction. I remember it. What about the high rate of recidivism in our prisons? Do you want to say anything about that?
Well, obviously that's a problem. I actually think Denton County addresses that well in our courts, and I've seen changes in the 20 some odd years I've been here practicing in Denton County. There's kind of two ways I think to deal with the recidivism. One is accountability, because if you don't have accountability in the criminal justice system, then you're not going to discourage anybody from changing their behavior. The other component that we've really added in the last few years is a true focus on rehabilitation of offenders whose offenses are tied to drugs. And so we now have some focused attempts at rehabilitation through our drug court programs in Denton County, because drugs are so often tied to the recidivism that we see.
Would you tell us something about the law enforcement professionals who are endorsing you? How many? I know you
Yes.
have a lot of them.
I do, and it's early in the campaign. I've just been thrilled at the response that I've gotten from law enforcement. Obviously, with my background in prosecution, I would like to think that I've built up a good relationship with law enforcement over the years. I am endorsed by our sheriff, Tracy Murphy. I worked very closely with Tracy on a number of cases, including the Lozano case that you mentioned, back when he was a Texas Ranger.
Yes, he interviewed the defendant, I think, early in the investigation.
He was involved in the investigation. Another ranger was actually brought into that case too, just because being a Denton police officer, Bobby Lozano knew so many cops around here. And so, but yes, Tracy Murphy, the sheriff, is endorsing me. I also have the endorsement of the Denton Police Officers Association, the Carrollton Police Officers Association.
Several constables.
Yes, Constable Hammonds, Truitt, Boydston, Constable Birch, Constable Rayburn, the Flower Mound Police Officers Association, the Denton County Law Enforcement Association. So I've been very excited about the response that I've received from our law enforcement community, because this is a criminal court.
Sure. What type of campaigning will you be doing? Like door-to-door, mail-outs, debates, things of that nature?
Yes, all of it. I've already started meeting a lot of people in our county, in our community. I will be sending out mailers. I will be going door to door, and I've already had a forum last week. The Denton County Law Enforcement Association had a forum for us, and at the end of that is when they voted to give me the endorsement.
And the election for this position is in March of next year. That's the primary election.
The primary will be in March of 2018. Is the planned primary. It actually could, the date could get pushed. There's a court case that involves redistricting,
Right,
and if the
right.
redistricting went through, it could get pushed a little bit. But right now it's scheduled for March of 2018, and then the general election will be that November.
Right. And do you currently have any opponents?
I do. I have an opponent. I have an announced opponent in for the Republican primary.
All right. Let me see. I think we've covered a lot here. Is there anything else you'd like to add about your campaign?
I feel like that this campaign is an extension of what I've worked for in my career, the last 22 years practicing law, the complexity of the cases that I've tried, the leadership positions, the management positions that I've had at the DA's office requiring me to make decisions. I feel like all of that has been training to put me in a position to use those skills, and I think this court is the right place to go.
Well, I want to thank you sincerely for being here, Susan, and thanks for your significant contribution to the criminal justice system, and good luck in the election.
Thank you so much, Bob.
Thank you, and thank you for watching.